Hey everybody, so here we go. These are our notes for section 1.1 in the Big Ideas 7th grade math book, and the problems for this section start on page 6. So up until now, most of you have been working only with positive numbers. But now we're going to start to look at numbers over here on the number line. These are negative numbers. Oops, and there we go, -3. And of course it goes on forever, but in this book we're going to have positive and negative answers a lot of the time. So I like to think of positive numbers a couple different ways. So a positive number is kind of like a hill of dirt. Okay, so it's kind of like a mound. So if that's 5 feet tall, that's +5. Whereas a negative number, I like to think of that like a hole in the ground. So if it's 8 feet deep, that's like -8. So you've also heard of positive and numbers with negative numbers, with temperature. Okay, usually around here, I can't think of any situations, but I'm sure it's happened where the temperature's gone below 0, and that'd be negative. But usually we're in the positive, so we don't write the plus. But just so you know, the positive highest temperature ever recorded is 129 degrees Fahrenheit, and that was in Kuwait. And I think it's interesting that the lowest negative temperature, which was in Antarctica, is almost the same thing except opposite. So that's about the range of temperatures on Earth, and those are the extremes that have been recorded so far. Okay, so we have a new concept to talk about, and that goes back to our number line here. Let me focus a little bit. So again, on a number line, we got 0 in the middle, we got the positives on the right. Remember, bigger numbers are always on the right side on a number line. So 4 is bigger than 3, which is bigger than 2. And that might get a little confusing with the negative numbers because -1 is bigger than -2. Okay, so what we're going to talk about here is we're going to look at, just a second, we're going to look at distance from 0 on the number line. And that's called absolute value. Okay, so that is distance from 0 on a number line. All right. Okay, let me take a break here for a second and switch pages. I'll give you a chance to take a look at that and write anything down if you need to. And so here, let me flip over the page. So generally speaking, math, we don't like to use words, so absolute value, we use a symbol, and those are bars, and they look like this. We got 2 big bars. Okay, and these bars mean absolute value. Okay, and sometimes if you're using a calculator, absolute value looks like this, ABS, and then some parentheses. That's another way to write it, and that's usually what it looks like on a calculator. Okay? So again, absolute value is distance from 0 on a number line. So let me just draw another number line here really quickly. That's my cat. He likes to meow a lot, especially at 5 in the morning. It's really annoying. So what is the absolute value of 3? So how far away is 3 from 0 on the number line? Well, that's just 1, 2, 3 spaces. Okay, what's the absolute value of -2? Well, how far away is -2 from 0 on the number line? Well, it's 1, 2 spaces. So we never use a negative to talk about distance. You never say that you walked -2 miles to the store. You we always use a positive number or 0 for distance. So that is the other case where we have the absolute value of 0, and that, of course, is 0, because 0 is 0 spaces away from 0 on the number line. So absolute value is either positive or 0. Okay, it's never equal to a negative number, and that's an important thing that you'll run into when you take algebra classes. So let's just look at a few problems here, and I think this homework assignment's going to be pretty straightforward. So what is the absolute value of 8? So here's an example. Okay, EX's example. Absolute value of 8, well, that's just 8. So what's the absolute value of negative 3? Okay, I'll let you think about that for a second here before I write the answer down. Well, again, that's going to be just 3, because negative 3 is 3 places away from 0 on the number line. So you'll have to compare some things. And what that means is you want to fill in either less than, greater than, or equal to. It's usually going to be less than or greater than, and not equal to. So here's one. So I got the absolute value of negative 4 and the number 7. So what would go in the space there? Well, so let's think about it a little bit. The absolute value of negative 4, well, that's 4. And 7 is just 7. Put a line there. And well, I think it's pretty clear then 7 is bigger than 4, so the sign points this way. You can think of it as the arrow points to the smaller number, or you might remember the alligator eating the bigger number. Okay, so I think, again, this shouldn't be too crazy. And then here's sort of the last, or second to last thing. We're going to put some things in order here. So it's just a list of numbers, and all you'll need to do is really figure out what these absolute values are equal to, and then go ahead and put the numbers in order. Okay, so here's an example here. Sorry about that. And you'll see some of these on your assignment. Well, so let's just think about it here. I'm going to use a colored pen to write what they're equal to. Well, 7, well, that's just 7. Okay, the absolute value of negative 2, well, again, that's going to be 2 because it's 2 places away from 0. Negative 8 is going to stay negative 8. The absolute value of 3 is 3, and the absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6. So when we do our answer, we want to use the original things in the problem, these original numbers with the absolute value bars on it. So the smallest one, if we go from small to big, is negative 8. Okay, I'm going to cross that out here because we're done with it. And then if I look at my list here, I got this pink 2, so that means the next smallest one is the absolute value of negative 2. Okay, let me cross that out. And then let's see, the next one here is 3. So again, I always use those original numbers. That's the absolute value of 3. That comes next. And then we have the absolute value of negative 6. And then we have 7, and we're done. So we put them in order from small to big. From the smallest to the biggest. Okay? And the last thing, again, we're just going to figure out some absolute values. But they're going to look a little bit weird. Let me zoom in here a tiny bit. So most of this, the directions will say simplify. Most of this is what we've done before. So let's say we have the absolute value of negative 9. Well, by now I think most of you will be able to say, well, that's just a 9. Okay? The next one is going to look like this. Negative on the outside, now we have negative absolute value of 3. Now you can think of this negative sign here as meaning the opposite. So what is the opposite of the absolute value of 3? So we have to do the absolute value of 3 first, and that's 3. And if we want the opposite of that, it's negative 3. Okay, and the last one, and after this I think the assignment should be just fine for most everybody. And if not, please send me an email, log into our Google Classroom and let me know. And this is the last one. It's going to look like this: the opposite of the absolute value of negative 4. Okay, well, let's look at this first. So the absolute value of negative 4 is 4, and I want the opposite of it, so the answer is negative 4. So this might be a little weird. Again, the absolute value of a negative number is always positive, but if we put this little minus in front, we're looking for the opposite of that answer. So that's generally going to make the answer negative. All right, well, that's it for section 1.1. I think it should go pretty well, and if you have any questions, again, go into our Google Classroom, and please don't hesitate to send me an email. Thank you very much.